After more than 2 months of emergency shutdowns, businesses are reopening to a different world where market forces compete with lingering concerns about public health. Here in Boston, the city has to keep an eye on both factors with more rigorous standards for business operations, but also help with compliance. To explain how that works is the Director of Small Business in the Mayor's Office of Economic Development, Natalia Urtubey. Thank you very much for being with us, Natalia.
Thank you, Chris, for having us.
So I talk about what businesses have to deal with now that they might not be prepared to handle very well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been an issue we've been facing from the beginning, right? So when we first, when the city first shut down, people were coming to us, what do I do? And so we put together these surveys to help understand the impact of COVID on our businesses. And those surveys have actually helped us understand how we can help businesses. So we learned from them that, funding grants in particular, not loans, was really important during this time. So we put out a fund then. And ever since the reopening guidelines came out, people were saying to us, we need help to do this. And so the city's been working really hard on a couple of different things in order to help businesses prepare for reopening. We've been hosting workshops and trainings for folks to think about online platforms. What are the legal requirements for for reopening and other things like that to consider? And then we also put together a page on our website for PPE, both for businesses to get guidance on where to purchase PPE, but also for small businesses that are local to list themselves as providers of PPE. So that's one thing. And then just on Tuesday, the mayor announced a new fund that will actually help us help businesses pay for those safety requirements of their business. So, for example, for barbershops and beauty salons, this fund could include grants for PPE for them, maybe some barriers in between their seats if they can't actually do a physical 6-foot distance between clients and employees. It can also be used for things like if you're a restaurant and you want to move out onto the sidewalk, once you've actually put in your request and your feedback form with licensing board, and you think that you are interested in that, you can actually use some of these funds for tables, chairs, ramps, or barriers to put outside. So we're really trying to ensure that businesses don't also have the added barrier of paying for a lot of these materials, knowing that they've been closed for 2.5 months now.
Well, I can imagine the mind of a business person feeling very, very micromanaged with all this attention to detail about distancing and hygiene. Do you ever worry that they lose sight of why this is so important?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've heard a little bit of that, but I think for the most part, we've done a good job about sharing the message that, at the end of the day, the most important thing is our residents' lives, right? Bostonians' lives are key. They're the most important thing that we can really focus on these days. And so we've been telling businesses that, we know that these standards are going to change the way you do business, but allowing us to help you will ensure, I think, more of a better response. And I think for the most part, from the businesses that we've heard from, they've been really grateful and reflective on what those requirements mean. And they want to make sure that they're actually doing everything in their power to be safe for both themselves, their employees, their business, and obviously their customers.
Well, the plus side of this is you're offering help to businesses, the small businesses who might have been left behind by some other waves of relief efforts. So tell me a little bit about the businesses that would qualify for this help.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that we're asking folks to think about is what proximity they are with customers. So the businesses that will be considered for this fund are businesses that have to be, by definition, in close proximity with their customers and their employees. So it's really important that we focus on folks who are at the highest risk of exposure and ensure that they have everything that they need. So this includes barbershops, hair salons, it'll be, restaurants. It will be oh my gosh, I just did this whole list. Fitness, it'll include arts and entertainment businesses. It will include curbside pickup. So if you're a retail store that wants to start in phase one and get curbside pickup, then you can use that for that. Also thinking about, I'm probably forgetting a bunch, so I apologize for that. But really,
I want to ask you a little bit about, because the city already has a food takeout priority zone that is experimenting with. What about applying that to other kinds of businesses? Do you see any potential?
I think it will really depend on the on how successful we are with this first kind of attempt to ensure that those businesses are taken care of. I think, you know, we know that if you can work from home right now, there's no reason to rush back to the office, and therefore you're not having to expose yourself to the risk of catching coronavirus because you're not required to. And so we really want that to be the focus, that this is for businesses that require that close proximity with their customers and employees.
Well, this is a new rollout from the mayor's office, the 13 million of aid for businesses. You've dealt with other rollouts, and I'm sure you had to debug them along the way. What have you learned from that?
Oh, I think one of the biggest learnings that we've had is that, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that you need to gather, right? A lot of documentation that you have to use, you know, in order for us to be able to validate your business. One of the things that we've been able to do better on the second time around is this vendor ID thing, right? So for us, for the city of Boston to be able to pay anyone, you have to be a registered vendor in our for the city in order to get payment. So that doesn't mean that you're actually vending to the city or that you're, you know, procuring any contracts with the city. It just means that we can actually pay you. This time around, what we're asking folks to do is actually to sign up to become a vendor, get your ID, and then apply. It will speed up the process. It will reduce confusion on what the status of your application is. And I think it'll help speed up the process in general for everyone and allow us to issue grants more rapidly.
And I know this might be old news to you, but we want to make sure we can mention it to our viewers. This is an effort that can contact and help people in several different languages, right?
Absolutely. So we've actually translated the application, the instructions, and the budget template into 10 different languages. So if you know a business owner, we know how many of our business owners are immigrants and don't necessarily feel strongly with speaking English. And so we want to make sure that this is accessible to everyone. So you can apply in different languages. We encourage you to do so. There's also a phone line that people can call if they're having trouble, and that's 617-635-2111. You can choose your language, and then you can get somebody to call you back in your native language to help answer any questions that you might have.
I'm going to trouble you for 2 more details. If there's a deadline on the application process, and if there's anywhere online where people can find more information.
Yeah, so as of right now, there is no deadline. There's no closing date. We are going to be processing applications until the money runs out. So I do encourage folks to get on it quickly. But it does not mean that if you haven't applied by today that you won't be able to get funding. So I do recommend that vendor ID, that you have that first. It will help us expedite your application, and then apply. And you can find more information about this fund at boston.gov/reopen fund.